the Viper Queen, Lady Gaga. I'm going to do her chart today. I'm going to do my best to show you how to do your own Venus star points, and I'm going to explain that the people who have their photos taken with the pentagram stars in Hollywood are watchers. They are beings who are kind of cruel immortals here. And I'm going to explain the Viper Queen Gaga's chart, and I'm also going to explain the matriarchal lineage of the Nog. If your mother's a Nog, then you're a Nog. If your father's a Nog, apparently you're not a Nog. And that I understand from Jonathan Mercedes' work and Nicholas DeVere's work, but it comes through the mother's line. So it goes back into that female Illuminati stuff. Also, I'm going to talk about the Nog line again as starting religion. I'm going to talk about Amun, Amun-Ra, Amen, Aten, Anu, which is the Anunnaki, Om, Amani, and Amana. And that Aman or Amun line was female. So when you look at the serpent beings, which I posted on the community page, some pictures of the Nagai, they are either male or female. And you have to understand from Jonathan Mercedes' work, who identifies as a Nog, and Jonathan is a good guy, as far as I can tell. He's in his DNA version of the creation story, but he also is very concerned about the transgenic Hydra, and he actually shared my post about it to his page. So I'm not saying all Nogs are bad. So again, remember, we're in a dualistic game. It's a play. We're playing a game with the serpents. And I'm kind of like the tour guide to the swamp. And I put a picture of myself kayaking yesterday. We went through the swamps. And I just kind of feel like that. So I want you to understand me. Like when I'm like, oh, that's an alligator. That's a painted turtle. That's a venomous pit viper. And that's a harmless water snake. That's all I'm trying to do, folks, is I'm just trying to let you know who's in the realm and who's playing here. So if you understand that Amun was actually feminine and was able to transgender itself as a Nagai, you will understand Lady Gaga. So do I need to show you the pictures again? Because I know some people watch me on Vimeo. Let's just look at the pictures again of what I'm talking about. So this is a Nog. That's a serpent being. They have an elongated head, multiple snakes coming out of their crown. The eyes are kind of on the side of the head, and the mouth and kind of the nose area is elongated. Okay, and this thing is Amun from Egypt. So this is Amun. Amun was the creation, just like Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, about 5,000 years ago. So we're talking about the 21st century BC, which is, about 2,100 to 2000 BC. And these beings called Ra, which is Osirian, the sun thing, God. So that was the first time that they declared that somehow God was outside of you. It was up there in the sky gods. And so instead of you knowing that you are source, that you are the spark, that you are spirit, that you are an immortal spiritual being, they created the system of religion. And I don't care whether it's Christianity or Buddhism or Taoism or any kind of doctrine, the Kabbalah, it's all created by the serpent races. So you have to really understand that all of that, it doesn't matter, is when the new gods, as my teacher Demetra George explains, replace the old gods. And the old gods were the fixed stars. The new gods are these plasma beings, the archons, of Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter and Venus and Mercury, Venus being very new to the realm. And they took over from the fixed stars, the old gods. So Jupiter was their original star, and that was known as Zeus, or Zeus Amun. And then Ra was seen with the fall of the angels and the Nephilim Nog. So the Nephilim were snake beings, they were draconians. Some people would call them the fallen angels. That's who we're talking about. This Ra sun, or Osiris, stole the sheath from Saturn. So back to the electric universe, and where does this come from? The sheath from Saturn created this weird halogen lamp that is in the sky here that is not a real star. That is called the black sun of the draconian agenda. And some of my friends worked in, that early years of Lisa Renee's work and Ashayana Dean's work before Ashayana Dean went crazy in 2012 and got corrupted. But the black sun manipulates all the draconian reptoids. So that sun is the hive mind of the draconian reptoids. They were the mastermind of the Council of Nicaea in Rome, again, very connected to the Italians. They made treaties with the Zeta Regalians and Zeta Reticuli. They made pharmacopoeia or pharmacia, which is the sorcery of pharmaceuticals. So they created pharmaceuticals. They've also in charge of the chemtrails and geoengineering of the fake sky. And they made a parallel AI-based 10-dimensional system based on Pluto. And what my teacher, Demetra George, spoke about Pluto in the mythology, his sister Demeter, or what is also known to me as Ceres, was the greatest, largest piece of Tiamat when Tiamat was broken up into the bits of the asteroid belt, and Tiamat's body created the radiation belt above and the Sheol below. That is Tiamat, and Tiamat is having a fight with Marduk. So you have to understand that this thing, the new AI that is here, is based on Pluto being the god of the underworld, rather than the Great Mother being in charge of those souls that pass over. So Pluto is part of that whole death, destruction, torture, trauma. Pluto is now the god of Hades, which is where we are. So the bloodlust, that underworld template of Pluto, is the AI system, but there are many competing AI systems, and one of them is called Sophia, and that one is coming out of Syria right now. I think Syria has this whole program of AI humans that will no longer be biological, but will be completely robot humans. And that is what Sophia, the AI of that competing system, is working on right now. The war, bloodlust, the child sacrifice, the Hydra, Enoch, Rome, adrenochrome, drinking, all came from the Amun serpent beings. And if you listen to Billy Carson, he does a really great explanation. There's just a quick little video that he did that one of my clients sent me. And it explains this child sacrifice that Amun was demanding. And some people also relate that to Moses. Now, that part I don't really know very well, but apparently Moses was an Egyptian. And yes, castration and child sacrifice, the bloodlust, satanic behaviors, comes from those religious groups of the Nog. Also, the dragon moth, the Draco Anunnaki, the Zeta Draco, the Marduk, Omicron, satanic beings. According to Rudolf Steiner back in 1924, 60% of the human population has already sold their soul to what he calls Ahriman, or the evil satanic force. So when we get to the Viper Queens, like Gaga or Madonna, or one of my students did Beyonce's chart, we're talking about people who have sold their souls. They're watchers now. They're stuck here permanently. They don't have a spark. They don't have a spirit left. And in fact, they've traded whatever soul that they have to these satanic cults. They do the blood sacrifice rituals to feed Amun, and the Anunnaki cause the hybridization with the Nephilim, these snake and serpent beings. And those entities who are bound to them are called the Watchers, and or the Nog. So that's why when you look at Jonathan Mercedes' Blood Wars, he's like, come, join us, be part of us, or you're going to be nothing at all. You've got to join us. And that is what the serpent race wants. Now, on that, I want you to know the Nog line believes that creation started like the beginning of time. Yes, I agree. The beginning of time was Sumeria. It was this ancient Egypt, because then those archons that created time, as I said, time is the prison, came into this realm. So Gaga, as far as I know, and you can look up the weird pictures of her, and I've only ever seen like 30 seconds of her performance that my friend Jill sent me this morning. She's both male and female, which the Nog line identifies usually as female, but they usually have both parts. So maybe Madonna does too. I guess the Viper Queen, Gaga, she has shown, and so my friend Jill sent a picture, and I was so psychically harmed this morning from seeing like seconds of her on stage, lifting her dress and showing her genitalia. She's a hermaphrodite. But everything else with like people puking into other people's mouths, and I was just going, there's the mind control. She obviously was born in the certain configuration of the pentagram. So the pentagram hits her ascendant, her sun, her moon, her nessus. You know, when the pentagram star points hit something prominent in your chart, you're going to be, like she says, she can't help but be that Luciferian pentagram star. She can't help it. So since she was a child, she could sing and play piano from a very young age, and at 11, she attended the convent, and that's what often happens. So even like Katy Perry, you know, they start off with the religions, which is the Nog race, all religions. I don't care what it is, Hinduism, Buddhism, I don't care what it is. All religion was created about 5,000 years ago. And I've said, my friend Ulakai Brendan Murray from Australia also told us, like, it was everywhere, these religions and these separation from men and women, the sexual misery template, the victim-victimizer stuff suddenly popped out. When Venus arrived, the pentagram, okay? And if you look at the rituals that these people are involved in, that they take part in prior to, you know, going up on stage, some people say that this woman, Marina, is actually Gaga's mother. And I really don't know, but it looks pretty interesting to me, and people have seen them very intimately involved. It's all pretty gross. Remember, I'm just the tour guide in the swamp telling you what is going on here. And they are incredibly successful. So if you look at Gaga's chart, and you can take a screenshot, make sure that I've got this correct. I'm not making assumptions, folks. So people say to me, oh, Lalita, you're making assumptions, and that makes people have convictions that these people are all bad. It's not assumptions, people. This is a library of outcomes that are observable. It's a library of outcomes that are observable. So in her chart, even during her monster tour, the star point was on her Pluto on October 29th at 1313. And she did her monster tour 2 or 3 days before Halloween. No doubt they were doing these rituals, because then her monster tour for a year and a half, from 2009 till May of 2011, her Monster Ball tour grossed $227 million. Now, you and I are never going to do that, nor do we want to. We don't want to get up on stage grabbing our, well, I don't want to get up on stage. So when she's saying on stage, she or Madonna are saying, you know, the men don't let us be like this. It's the men's world. They are that feminist, female Illuminati stuff. Because folks, as a woman, and you can check, there are videos of me doing yoga. I have a woman's body. I have hips of a woman. I have had children. I did not give birth to reptiles. They did not come out as eggs. Those people are living in that shadow watcher world where they're highly sexual and no one's going to control them. And Beyonce has that, bow down bitches, whatever. She's just sloppy and lazy because my client, Chris, who did her chart, very interesting. The thing that happened between Madonna's age, when it was hitting her sun and her Jupiter and her Chariklo and her Black Moon Lilith and her Eris and her House of Career, Midheaven, is that Madonna was born 1958. So the star point moved from the last degree at 26 degrees Libra, where it was hitting Madonna's Jupiter and North Node in the second house of money. It moved into Scorpio. So Beyonce and Katy Perry and Gaga all have a moon in Scorpio. Because by that point, in order to get the pentagram to really light up their chart, those beings who are Viper Queens all of them have the Scorpio moon. Really interesting. So if you read the information about like the MK Ultras and the Monarchs, they get like early religious training. They get a handler like Marina Abramovic. I don't know who this woman is either, but they get handlers, sexual partners, and they get petted and like played with and loved and pushed in a certain direction. So, and they're not able to leave this place. So what else can they do? Now, everybody has the pentagram in their chart, but I'm going to show you very quickly because this is a client who asked me to do her chart. You're going to see that it does not hit her ascendant, her sun, her moon, her nessus. It does not. In fact, when she came in, it was on her south node, and the closest that it made it was close to her Mars. But otherwise, the star points are not hitting anything, okay? And if the star point of Venus does not hit anything in your chart, yes, anyone can draw a pentagram because it's just a geometry in their chart. But does it hit something? Does it make you a star like these other people? Like you see Katy Perry standing on her star, like she is doing these hand signals, one hand up, one hand down. I don't even know what the signal is, but I looked at it. And Katy Perry has a sun, moon, ascendant in Scorpio. So every time that star point comes into Scorpio, which is now where it's happening, it's hitting her ascendant degree, the vitality, the life force, her sun, which is like whatever intelligence she wants to promote. And I've seen her a couple of times at my mom's house on whatever that talent show is thing that she does. And her words, like she's very hypnotic about hell and God and praying. And I mean, you can tell she's like deeply religious at her core. And the religiousness is a nog. The religiousness with the sexual stuff, right? Like it's sexual and seductive and religious. That is the nog stuff. And when you hear people like, Christians getting really like religious, and Claude and I are walking around here and there's people like in their Sunday best, a man and a woman, and they're like spouting their religiosity, but you can tell it's actually about sex, like under there. That's the nog shit, folks. And it is a 24-hour day, 100% mind control program. That's what religion is. And the Viper Queens up on stage, they're the messiahs. I mean, don't you see those women? I only saw Gaga for a few seconds today, and like the psychic yuck of what was going on in the swamp, this sex and religiosity and obvious like Satanism and chaos god Janus stuff is going on. Like they love chaos. No one's going to make me behave. I don't want to behave like that. That's the difference between a real human woman is I have no interest in getting up on stage and grabbing myself and puking in someone else's mouth and then exposing my hermaphroditic self, which all the Nags are hermaphrodites. That's why people are like posting pictures of Madonna when she was very boy-like. I'm not saying that they can't transgender. The Nag line goes back and forth. It can be male or female. It will menstruate, then it will have a penis, and then they'll absorb their penis up into their bodies. And I know people who have actually said this to me and done this and showed me that they are no longer male, now they're menstruating. So they don't have to have surgeries. But you see, that's the push in the culture right now for everybody to become part of their bloodline. Do you understand? And their genetic memories are completely different to mine, which is why this morning when I was talking to my client about Jonathan Mercedes' work, as I said, Jonathan shared my post about the transgenic Hydra, which is the rape of our consciousness. So people are going, when's this Nephilim rape going to happen, Lolita? It's happening now. Do you not know? There are very few humans left, people. And if you get your live blood analysis, you will see that you may not even have red blood cells left because they're spraying us with these parasites all the time. Just like when Venus first came, we got covered with weird parasites and fungi here that are not supposed to be here. Which, by the way, we're going to have a Venus-Saturn conjunction this year. We're going to have a Venus-Saturn conjunction in Pisces, and then it's going to hit Nessus, and it's going to be on the 21st. And as I said in the last video, Venus-Saturn can make like pedophiles. So when this yucky stuff first started happening, I was like, oh, I know where Jeffrey Epstein is. He's in every that everyone's getting right now. I knew it too. I like absolutely know it. That was his stuff that was being. So we're going to have a Saturn-Venus conjunction in Pisces. Pisces is the collective waters. It's the hive mind unity consciousness. It's like the spiritual stuff that people can get into, and like, you know, their trance is not ending. They're trans-ending, trans-ending, that whole Pisces stuff. You're going to think you're doing great, but why don't you check your blood and see if you've got hydras in your blood that are making you into something else. I'm going to start my next parasite cleanse on March 21st. And what I do in the fall, I do one type of parasite cleanse. In the spring, I do another one. And generally, you want to get all the mucoid plaque out of your body. So if you're snuffing your nose or clearing your throat or coughing, you've got parasites. And I've said this before, there's a whole bunch of other symptoms, but the fall and the spring, when I used to deworm my horses and cows and other animals, which are vegetarians, they're eating parasites, and now they're spraying us with morgellons and other stuff that is on all the lettuce. I mean, it's on all the spinach, it's on all the grass. So I would always deworm my horses really heavy in the fall, the late fall, like, at the end of October, early November, when they stopped eating the grass. And then I would deworm them again just before the spring, fresh new grass and parasites come out. And you have to do it about 5 days before the full moon. And you might want to also do it on the full moon and 5 days after the full moon if you have a horse. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm not supposed to give medical information, but that is the way I did it, because vegetarians have the highest level of parasites, and it's because they don't have the digestive fire to digest turkey. You know what I mean? So people are always saying to me, oh, it's because of pork. And it is because of pork. I'm not eating any pork. But it's also just grass and lettuce, like nematodes, folks. Nematodes. You got to put diatomaceous earth on your soil when you're planting, or else you're, going to grow nematodes in your oregano. So you have to know that. I'm also getting a whole bunch of plants right now in preparation, like papaya and lipstick plant, because then in the fall, I'm going to change it again to lipstick plant, which is called annatto seeds, which paralyze the parasite, and then papaya seeds will scrape it off, and then you use coconut husk. So I've actually ordered coconut trees also, and you use the coconut husk to slough it off. This time I'm going to do bentonite clay, psyllium, and diatomaceous earth. In the spring, I like to do that. And then in the fall, I like to do like more of the food-based food over drugs kind of parasite cleanse. So there's all that information for you. For right now, you can hear they've been spraying like crazy here, and we're out, planting and doing stuff. But I wanted to show you how to do your own star points. So this is the book that you need. You can do it online. And as I said, any geometry can be made in a circle. So my personal geometry is the star Merkaba. These other people, the Viper Queens, don't have the star Merkaba. They do not have the DNA keys to open any of the gates because they are watchers. But they have the pentagram lining up crazy on their domicile lord planets, on their ascendants, on their suns, on their moons. So they get to be stars here, kind of like Jeffrey Dahmer. In fact, one of my clients did that. The Varuna is conjunct his vertex. He's like an immortal here. And so it's really interesting who is given these roles that are the planetary gods' roles that they get to live parasitically and vicariously through Gaga, through Dahmer, through these strange people who are cannibals. Gaga is a cannibal, people. And after I drew her chart and Madonna's chart, I had to deal with them in the astral. So I had to deal with the Viper Queens. They're not happy with me. And I'm like, fuck off. I know what you are. And I know that you're stuck here and that I still have my spirit and I've never sold. And I don't make deals with the demons. I don't do any spirit cooking. The Viper Queens, they're getting their power because they're making deals with the pentagram. So if you look in the ephemeris, Venus is going to be retrograde, and it's very convenient in 2025 that she starts in Aries at 1 degree, and then after about 21 days, she will be retrograde in her descent to meet the dark sister Ereshkigal. And on that day, if you go over here, she gets to, I think it says 5 degrees. I'm reading it backwards. And if you go over here to the sun is at 5 degrees. That's a star point. So in March of 2025, we're going to have a Venus star point at 5 degrees Aries. And that is going to happen on March 22nd. So very interesting that that's our next big Venus star point is going to be in Aries. And that's where the North Node stuff, the eclipses are happening right now. So that's why the eclipse stuff that is happening, it has momentum starting in April 8th of 2024. But the Venus star point stuff is going to activate it. It's going to instigate it. It's going to give it momentum because we're going to have a Venus star point in Aries. So eclipse outcomes begin, even a few weeks before the eclipse. So we're starting to feel this now, which is why I'm examining the Viper Queens and the whole Nog line and what the blood wars are about right now. And they're trying to change our DNA to their DNA by infecting us with transgenic hydras. That's the rape that I've been talking about. Now, to do your Venus star point, basically what you do is say say you were born in 1981. Okay, so you go to 1981 and you see if your Venus is part of the retrograde star point. No, it's not. So for this person, the first one was in January of 1982. So I put first. And then the second one was in August of 1983. So I put second. Okay. And then the third one, and you have to, it's about every 1.6 years, and you have to look through the ephemeris. And the third one was in Aries, which, you know, partnership definitely became a big focus for her. And then the fourth one was in Scorpio, but, you know, was not hitting anything. So she's never really had all that much money, but that is her second house. She kind of has to figure that out right now, and I'm working with her to figure that out. So not making deals with Venus to get what she wants, but to get her own self-worth and her own creativity. And then her fifth one was very close to her Mars, and her fifth one happened in 1988. And it can go on and on like that in your chart, where then you can go to the sixth one, which was over here for her, doing nothing at all. But it is in her house of children, so children has been a major focus for her life. So that's how you would do your own Venus star points. Are you going to be a Hollywood star like the Watchers, like Katy Perry or Beyonce? I don't even know if these people have stars. I only looked up Katy Perry's. And she's basically doing the hand signals of Baal on top of her pentagram because they are satanic Luciferians and they're on the left-hand path. And what I'm saying again is, like, if you want to be on the left-hand path and you want to be a movie star, go ahead, but realize that some of that requires you to sell yourself, to sell your soul, to be a monarch, to be a brainwashing technocrat of civilization. But when I looked at that, I was going, you should warn your entire family that Gaga is a pit viper. Like, why can't we talk about this? Why can't we be tour guides in the swamp? You know, like, why can you go through a Florida swamp and say, oh, that one's poisonous, that one's not? But you cannot say that about these people. Why can't we? You see, you feel the taboo. You feel what power those serpents have. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And in terms of my client who asked me that question, like, why don't these people openly worship Yaldabaoth? Well, they are. Everyone who says Amen, Amun, Amun Ra, Om, is worshiping the serpent line, is Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth, remember, is a snake being that was aborted by Sophia when she attempted to, as a femme fatale, create her own creation. That's what an Illuminati femme fatale is. And that's what the Viper Queen was saying on stage. I'm not going to play by your rules. I'm going to puke into someone's mouth and masturbate in public. And I was like, whoa, there's Sophia's lineage right there, folks. So I hope that you understood some of that. This is the book that you need. If not, you can do your star points online. If not, I'm willing to do it with some of you. I'm not willing to do it with all of you because it's not like easy for me. It takes some effort to look at this. But I think it's interesting that the Gaga, you know, had her first star point at May 13th, and then 1313 is where her Venus stationed on her Halloween tour of the Monster Ball, and 13 is one of Venus's number, and she was born on a Friday. So that also often happens with these femme fatale Illuminati. It's all about the pentagram. It's all about Venus. It's about getting that incarnation exactly timed so that you have it on May 13th, hit your ascendant, which amazingly, her ascendant is conjunct Polaris, the projector star of the hologram. It's just freaking amazing, people. And I don't really know Gaga, but I mean, I was like, I mean, you don't have to be an astrologer to know what she is. To me, the thing is like, why can't we talk about it? Why aren't we talking about it? These are the people that are informing our children. Have a look at even 1 minute of her on stage, and you're like, whoa, that's the mind control template here. Okay, friends, that went quick. See you next time.